Friday nights during the fall. Six-man fans gather to watch a sermon of grit and determination be delivered by 6 men, 10 minutes at a time, 4 quarters a night. Here you'll find the quarterback, is also the linebacker, and the kicker, where iron sharpens iron, where hard work pays off, and where 6 are won. Now for your host of 6 as 1, Coach Goldman.
And a little bit south than we did last week. So Coach Jones here with Garden City. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing very, very good. Thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, looking forward to this segment. So we'll get to some. You sent me some great film that I appreciate the way you sent it to, breaking it down into three kind of plays that we can go over with respect to your offense, but which is a very potent offense, and I've got a lot of questions for you on coaching points because that's there got to be a ton there. But why don't we start off with you giving us and sharing with us a little bit about how you found yourself finally at Garden City and what kind of route you took to get there?
Man, it was a roundabout way for sure. I grew up in Rankin, which is just down the road, big rival of Garden City. So I grew up playing Garden City a lot through high school. We were all 11-man back then, but so I know a lot of people here. We grew up together since junior high. So I mean, I've known a bunch of the community members for a while. I got into coaching. I started up in the Panhandle at Hart High School. Then from there, I went down to Crane, which is a 3A school down here in West Texas in the Permian Basin also. And then I got my first head coaching and athletic director job at Marfa.
Okay.
And we were 11-man, of course. And then after 2 years, numbers started dwindling. We decided to go 6-man. They wanted me to stay there, and I've always been curious about 6-man. So that's how I got into 6-man. And I'm hooked, and I'm not ever going to go back. So, and then about 4 years ago, Garden City's job came open, and I was fortunate enough to get the job. So here I am, and it's been four great years, and I'm looking forward to many more.
There you go. Well, give me a little bit of, it's interesting because you mentioned how you were with an 11-man program, even played underneath an 11-man program that's now a 6-man program. That transition, when you see schools that move from 11 to 6, what is the byproduct of that transition? I mean, is it difficult at first? Is it difficult for the community? I mean, I'm always been curious as to that move down, because what we see within the private school rankings where I find my home, we see a lot of teams that are really going the other way. They start 6-man because they're a small school, right? They may have a small private school, and as they start building up, then they transition to 11-man because they get more numbers, and really the desire for a lot of them has always been to get to 11-man. We're just sort of a stepping stone, so to speak, to that.
Right.
And it's in all honesty, it's putting them on the schedule is kind of tough because you never know for some of them if they're going to be 11-man next year. But so tell me a little bit about going the other direction.
There's a lot of growing pains that came along with it. The just for the coaches, I mean, not me nor any of the staff had any 6-man experience, so it was a transition for everybody within the program. Offensively, you're going to score, you're going to find ways to score. So offensively, it wasn't too bad, but man, on defense, it took about 3 years before those kids really started figuring things out. So. The defensive side of the ball is where the hardest adjustment was, and just your angles, the space that you cover, becoming great open field tacklers, just really, really concentrating on that aspect of it. So defensively was the toughest part. Coaching wise, going, from 11-man to 6-man, it was kind of a tough transition just because the schemes are a little bit different. You can do some things that look unsound on paper, but they are very sound when it comes to 6-man football. So, being 11-man, I wanted to make sure everybody was blocked, and sometimes you just really don't have to do that. So, that was the biggest part of it, and but it's tough. But the kids in the community really started buying into it, and they really enjoyed it. Numbers went up, even though enrollment was dropping, the numbers that were coming out for football went up because it's just such a fun game.
Yeah, I think that is, interesting, is that it is a fun game, and also that really the premium isn't always on having a bunch of big guys out there. It really shifts a little bit, right? I mean, that smaller, faster kid has a place now, and it's not slot receiver.
Right. And especially on the defensive side, I mean, we real quick, we got to have pretty much 6 youngsters on defense, and then on offense, you can use some of those big boys to come and you can ground and pound in 6-man just like you can 11-man. But really on defense, you really need some speed out there and people who can get off blocks and pursue the ball.
Yeah, no. So give me a little bit of where you approach, and I've obviously seen some of your film through the years and stuff, but when you go out and you mentioned, you can ground and pound or you can just spread it out. What is your philosophy offensively when you go out? Is it certainly the other team's defense is going to dictate some of what you do, but what is it that y'all are looking to do? If you had your way and you could dictate what you wanted to dictate, what's typically the philosophy for the offense?
We're looking to run first. We're probably we do run the ball a ton. I mean, we're probably 80-20, but we're going to look to run the ball. And then, we start seeing that defense inch up and crowd the line, then we'll look for something over the top. But we're looking to set up our run game. Power has been good to us, and then we got the option game. And, it's just a fun brand of football. It gets all the kids involved and, puts the ball in a bunch of playmakers' hands all at one time. So we're going to set up the option. And then we do the power game just because it's such an attitude play. I mean, we want to just really set the tone for the game.
Hey, Coach, you there?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I lost you for just a second. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So in terms of on the defensive side of the ball, what's typically your strategy for, and again, you're going to be different types of, but if you had your way, what's your foremost strategy going to be defensively, in terms of dictating what the other team does?
We're gonna. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
We got you.
Yeah, we're gonna. It just depends on the opponent, but we're gonna try to take away what they do best. Of course, some people are so multiple. You can't practice everything in 1 week of what they do. But we're gonna try to shut down what they do best. Every week on defense, though, we do, whether we're playing a spread team or not, we're working on spread rush and spread defense, so sharp on all the time. So we're looking to do that, and but mainly you just kind of scout your opponent, see what they do best, and you're going to try to take it away. But we're going to be up in your face. It's a man concept. We kind of just man up everybody and force the envelope a little bit and make them block us, and we're going to shed blocks and get to the ball. Yeah,
and I guess some people that I've seen play a pretty mighty conservative. It seems to me that 6-man doesn't align itself well to just sitting back and taking what the offense is going to dictate to you, because it just seems like that it doesn't seem to work out very well. And so when you say man concept and being aggressive, I certainly understand that. Now let's talk a little bit about this invitational, because that's actually how we first met, was through this.
Right.
This seems to become I don't know. I haven't been in 6-man long enough to know if it's a trend or not. Certainly not an 11-man. This is not something you see in 11-man where you invite a whole bunch of teams out. Typically, I know there are a few. But
right.
I know you're coming into I think it's your second year for this, and what's the thought process behind putting it together? Why put it on? Give us a little bit of some of the from a coach's perspective, the obstacles you have to overcome to even get, do it, and walk us through that a little bit.
It's just something we like to do that. This community really likes their football, so we want to get a weekend just with a bunch of football coming to town. So, we got a nice field, a nice turf field out there. It's going to be durable and hold up against, if it rains, it's not going to get torn up or anything with a bunch of games getting played on it. But, it's just we just like to really kick off a football season with the excitement that those shootouts bring, and getting everybody in gear, and then you just kind of start rolling through the season. Personally, we get a home game 2 years in a row. So I mean, it's nice on that. So, but we really like hosting it. Our community's pretty proud of the facilities we have here. So they kind of want to show that off a little bit, and we just like hosting it. And years ago, Garden City used to host the Texas Bowl, and this is just a way to just start hosting some football, get a good weekend of football, and we like to watch a bunch of games. So that's pretty much where it comes from.
Okay. Well, and we truly appreciated the opportunity last year. We'll be out there, of course, this year. I have to tell you that I wish I had taken video of my players the first time they saw your facilities. And for those that haven't been out there, I strongly encourage you to go out and watch a game. Just bring some earplugs for that darn horn. My wife, we had I think last year Ezra was probably just over a year old, because, well, that's what happens when you get a year older, right? He's just over 2.
Right.
She's like, that darn horn kept keeping him up and waking him.
Yep.
I said, well, we stuck around and watched y'all play, and that thing's gonna go off a lot, So.
Well, I'm hoping it goes off. I mean, if it's going off a lot, we're usually pretty happy. So.
But it is really. But when my guys got off that off the bus, so to speak, we don't have a bus, and we all got out of our cars and rolled out. Their eyes were just big. I tell you, the funniest story about all that was that we play on a small field and called the pasture, and it literally is out in the middle of a pasture that we've turned into a field. But so the goalposts were made basically, and I'm probably about, I think it's 4, maybe 4.5 feet too narrow, right, for our kicker, and they don't go up as high as like standard size regular goalpost. So when my kicker came out there and saw that thing, he thought he was kicking into the ocean. He's like, I can hit this there all day long.
Yeah.
Can we bring this thing home? I was like, no, you got to make them on the little small one. So anyway, he was probably the happiest player that day.
That's good stuff.
But anyway. So now let's talk a little bit about the season. How do y'all, I'm sure you break down the season into certain parts and elements. So you got the kickoff coming up, and then what are your goals before getting into conference, and then you fully expect to be in the playoffs, and do you change things? Do you try to get some early season? Do you get other players some playing time, because you're blessed to have that opportunity with I've seen your bench. It's bigger than I think my last 3 teams combined, but anyway. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, we do play a full JV schedule. So I mean, we didn't at the shootout. It's hard to get a JV game that week just because we're hosting games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so it's hard to find a JV game that week. But that's why we had so many kids out there. But we break it down, and we're trying to get just really good at our stuff through non-district. We got some tough teams we play just to get us ready for district and the playoffs. So we want to play some good competition. We do want to try some things. We really should know what we're going to be hanging our hat on by about week 5, week 6. We start seeing what we're really good at and what we're going to start focusing on. But at the same time, you want to keep adding some wrinkles here and there, so you're going to have it for district in the playoffs. So once we get in district, and it's one game at a time. You're just trying to go undefeated through district so you can have a spot in the playoff. And that's really what we're focusing on in district. And we won 6 district championships in a row, and we want to keep that streak going every year. So the kids take a lot of pride in winning district games. So that's really what we're trying to do through district. And then once the playoff starts, it's playoffs. And we kind of, our practice is getting a little more, I don't want to say relaxed, but a lot more team, a lot less individual time. And we should have all of the fundamentals down under our belt by then. And we're just trying to execute to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, and you've done an excellent job of that. I mean, without a doubt. I think you said something that I thought, and I found, when I've been scheduling myself and doing some of this stuff, is that, teams are willing to go out there and put harder and competitive teams on their schedule out of district, or for us as well. I think that's a good loss, or is much better than just an easy win, especially early on in the season, to help find out, let your team know where they are, and so speak a little bit to, because you do that, you put some quality programs on your schedule, and I'm guessing that's the thought process, but and then I guess the drill down that a little bit more is, outside of doing that, is what do you tell the team if you put them on there and they do lose? What's that after? What's the conversation like then?
We use that as a learning opportunity. I tell people all the time, I learn more from losses than I do from wins. And when I look back at the season, in the spring and in the summer, when I'm watching film, I'm watching the losses more than I am the wins. Or the close games a lot more than I'm watching the halftime games. But our kids have it. We're pretty lucky. I think we have it in our mind that it's all about making yourself better, and we're not going to dwell on losses too much. We are going to learn from it. We're going to learn from the bad things, and that's what we point out in video when we're watching video with them the next week, and when we share out video on Huddle. When I send them talking points or coaching points from the previous game, it's usually the bad plays, and it's we rarely send them the highlights. They're going to find the highlights on their own. So we're going to point out the bad plays and what we can do to get better. But our kids, they don't get rattled too much early season. So they don't. Last couple of years, Balmorray's been kind of a thorn in our side. They've beaten us in non-district 2 years previous, and they've beaten us, and our kids have, it just really didn't shake them. But we were better the following week. Every time we lost a game, the next week I knew we were going to play good. We right the ship and get going, and it's just it's nice to have disciplined players like that, and so playing these tough teams, and we think that's what makes us who we are once districts in the playoffs get here.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about, because about the culture, and I don't mean just the team culture, but maybe even the town culture. Because when you have a program that's been as successful as y'all have, and are consistently successful, there comes with that some pretty high expectations, and I mean those are expectations that. It's coaches, I think we're year in, year out, but for some of these young men, that's a 2 or 3 year high expectation level, right? And then they're on to whatever else they're going to do in their life. And so tell me a little bit about what those expectations are, and then how you handle those with players that are, trying to go through that as young men, and they're balancing all the other things they have to balance in life.
It's tough. I'm constantly amazed about what these kids at Garden City can do, boys and girls. It's just amazing. But the expectations, they start early in their life. The community has a lot of pride in everything we do, and it has been for years. Like I said, this dates back to my knowledge of Garden City back in the junior high. It's just the way it is here, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, I love high expectations. You're upset when you don't reach some of them, but it keeps you sharp and keeps you on your toes. Winning breeds winning, and these kids go out there every time they do something. They're going to try to be the best at it, whether it's on the football field or in the classroom when they take the test. And it's just it's great, and it sets them up to being very good parents and good spouses, and that's what we're trying to do. When it's all said and done, I want them to be positive contributors to a community someday. And a lot of them come back home and farm their land, and I just look forward to, if I'm still around, hopefully coaching their kids. And it's just a great thing, and that's what the expectation is, and that's the kids don't know any different.
That's great. Yeah. Now, I mean, you do mention that about making. I'm going to drill down a little bit on making good parents and spouses and community leadership. Speak to a little bit about how. And it's interesting for me and for our program. It's always based out of a faith element, and I know that within public schools you have to walk a finer line. But explain to me how how you get across some of those principles. Where is the time? Is there time spent? Do you spend time on that? Is it other entities at and around them that help influence that, or how do you kind of blend that sport element with the mentoring element?
We have four that we build our program around here at Garden City. It's disciplined, diligence, selflessness, and integrity. And those are 4 words. I think it kind of catches everything that they need to be, and who they need to be. And I got some input from several community members when I first got here about what we really wanted to focus on, and those 4 things came up a lot, along with the word pride. So I mean, that's just something we do. And then at the start of every football season, that we talk about those 4 words and what they look like on the football field and off the football field. And I quiz the kids. We talk about them, and then I quiz them right before the first game, and if they can't tell me some certain things, they don't get their helmet decals. So that's just how we kind of keep it going and how we get it in their head. And if you come watch practice, you'll hear those words a lot, just coming out of my mouth and coming out of the assistant coach's mouth. And the kids, they know what they're talking about. And we lean a lot on our seniors to uphold those standards and those covenants. And it's their turn to lead, and that's what we're trying to do. So I mean, everything's just built around those. I think that's a good foundation, and hopefully it sticks with them after they graduate and they go on and they start living. Hopefully they have those 4 qualities in them, and they continue to take some pride in them. I know a couple do. I've talked to kids that are in the military, and they constantly say those 4 companies help. We do that all the time now, and that's
all right. Hey, Coach, I just lost you there.
Oh, okay, I'm here.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Oh, sorry.
No, it just every once in a while it pops in and out. That's okay. Well, thank you. So what I'm going to do, I spent a little bit more time with Coach Jones on the video portion of this segment. So what we're going to do is we're going to part ways right here with the folks that are on the podcast. I always feel like it'd probably be pretty difficult to watch to go over film on a podcast. I mean, that's a pretty good coach that can do that. I couldn't. Got more vision than I have. So we're gonna wrap up this section. I've been always told, if you're on SoundCloud, like, share, do all that good stuff. If you are going to catch us and you're staying tuned, then we'll be moving forward. If you're already watching the video, we'll be moving forward here shortly with the film elements. So we're going to be spending some time with Coach Jones on the offensive side of the ball and looking at some of the ways that he runs his offense. And so we will be back in just a few moments. welcome back to the film segment of Sixes One, and Coach Jones is still here with us. And so, Coach, we're going to go over a little bit of your offense, and specifically, we're going to be looking at. Coach was kind enough to send me 3 basic plays that they run, and now, you'll split this wideout out. Sometimes you'll have this person in. This is, a lot of people say Jaybird. What do you call the formation that your base formation?
I just call it. We call it right.
Okay. It's not overly complex.
No, it isn't.
So but interestingly, you have the Jaybird formation here, and we would call, and you split it right, split out.
Mm-hmm.
Now the handoff's going to come, and we'll fast forward, we'll move it forward here a little bit. You're going to hand off to, and what do you call this back?
We call him an F, or our fullback. It's an F.
Okay. So the F back or the fullback here is going to take the ball, and then he basically has the run pitch option. I wouldn't call that the pass option that close to the line of scrimmage. So what are the key points? And I'm gonna let this play through. We got a little. I don't know why. I'm gonna let it play through again. Here we go. I'm gonna ask you some questions about. He reads off that end and then gets up the field.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna leave that defensive end alone on the end. And that's who our read man is, and that's where the fullback's eyes should go. As soon as he gets that ball, he should be looking at that guy.
And so he's looking at him the whole way. Now the cue is basically blocking backside end. Is that what his job is to make sure that guy doesn't come across his face and down the line?
Yes. A lot of people we play have some studs at that end. We need to keep them from running us down, so we can get a good read.
So the idea is, I'm guessing, is sort of ride the center out, step here, take the shot if the guy just lights you up when you're handing the ball off, but who cares because you've kept him from getting down the line.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now the question I have too is, so that full, when you've got a team that, and we'll see this probably in a few other places, crashes that this side defensive end, and his only job is to just take out the fullback. What's the coaching point there for an aggressive end who's just going to fly in on this? We see it on film. Maybe it's hard to say because not a lot of people run the option, so we can't see how people play it. But sometimes, if they come in hard, he should have a pitch key and he should be pitching that ball off. But we tell him, you're going to get hit, and it takes a kid with some courage and a selfless kid to get that pitch out and be ready to take a shot for the team. And we tell them as soon as they pitch, we do tell them put his face mask on his chin and get ready. And sometimes you're gonna get hit. Yeah, and that is that is certainly what I saw on film. Is that kid's gonna have to be a tough player, and you might need 2 or 3 of them.
Right. Yes.
Depending upon how big and and how hard the defensive end on that side hits. Now, this was interesting, I thought, because you're not afraid to run into the short side of the field. A lot of people would say, well, running this into the short side of the field is, cuts down your pitching lanes. So what's the thought process on making that call into the short side?
I think this game right here was our week 6 game, and I self-scout myself after every week, and I noticed I was wide side tendency, so it was time to start kind of busting that tendency a little bit. So that was really the only thinking about going in the short side is to break our tendency a little bit so that we can give other people something to work for, because district was about to start up. So we just want to do something a little bit different to keep everybody honest and know that we can go to the short side. I really don't like to because you don't have much room over there, but the kid makes it work right here.
Yeah, he does. But as a defensive coach, that's the one where you roll back on film and go, okay. So why were you concerned about the pitch man running out of bounds?
Yes.
I mean,
Right.
what was the thought process on the pitch man running out of bounds? Because the other guy just split us up the middle for I don't know if he goes for a touchdown here or not, but pretty darn close.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I just thought that was interesting because oftentimes those pitch relations, and so tell me a little bit about the pitch relation that you have, and also with respect to this pitch, because we're going to see that coming up here on the film, is the lateness of the pitch. Do you coach that? Do you what is the green light that you give that fullback on that pitch? And tell me a little bit about that pitch relationship.
Yeah, the pitch relationship, we try to tell them about 5 yards back, 1 yard behind. And it's got to be repped a lot just so that fullback knows where that tailback's going to be. They got to be working together and just kind of got to know each other. Like I said, the fullbacks we've had are very, very selfless, and they will pitch further down the field if it means a touchdown for somebody. They're not real selfish. They're not going to try to just get theirs and do it themselves. So I tell them, if that fullback turns up, tailback, you better turn up and find him and get back into that pitch relationship. And, the fullback knows he's going to be there. He trusts his teammates. And, sometimes we get a pitch downfield, sometimes 10 or 15 yards downfield. It's great.
Yeah, and that does put a lot of stress on a defense because you still have to maintain some form of integrity on the pitch back if you don't take the fullback out at the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Now let's see if we'll run through a few here that just there we go, just reading off the end, and it's pretty easy there.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about this here just a little bit, but this he's going to get, and this is where he gets just you got this looks like one on film. I was going to say that you can tell that this kid was told, look, I don't care what else happens, but that fullback needs to be on his back.
Yeah. Well, this one is it's a little different. That's Sterling City's best defender. He has been all year, and they moved him. I mean, he had been playing nose guard, I think, for most of the year, and they moved him to that defensive end. So I know he hadn't really had any options coming at him throughout the year. So we ran it, and I told the fullback, look, he's probably going to hit you. So, and our kids have grown up. Sterling City and Garden City kids have grown up just playing each other. So these two have met since 7th grade. They're both juniors here in this film. Yeah. So they're both seniors this coming year. So it's just something that kid teed off on Hunter, and our fullback made a good pitch out, and they talked a little trash after the play, and we went back to playing football. So I mean, it takes a tough kid, golly, and I'm telling you, they got to have some courage because they're going to get hit, and you just got to be ready for it. And it takes a special kid, and we find them all the way down through. We just got to find those kids that are ready to do that.
So now the blocking too, you're obviously not going to block the end, but do you sometimes brush him, make him take a little bit of a wider angle so that he doesn't shoot that gap? I mean, this is the thing. Look, this guy doesn't come across your face. You may be going to the backer at the second level, but this end's not coming across your face because that's too fast.
We tell them to get to that backer either inside or outside best. We don't mess with him at all.
Okay.
If there's any contact made with the defensive end, it's what he is doing to try to get you to slow release. Because some defensive ends, they'll get a shot on our tight end before they just let him go. And but our tight end is trying to get to the linebacker, whether it's inside release or outside. Now, outside release is better because it widens that hole a little bit and slow plays that defensive end. But we're trying to get him to the linebacker quickest way possible.
Yeah, and so he starts head up right there, and that's why he goes outside of him. So
yes, and those backers have been playing outside. They have contained in that defense from what we saw on film. So we were going to outside release this week.
Yeah, okay. So you just, if it's head up, you'll look at it and say, okay, we're going to go ahead and outside release, and and let him have the inside. Thought process being, well, if I get helmet on here, then we're good and gone.
Yes, that's that's the trick, is getting that block, because that's probably the guy that's going to get the pitch. So we're going to get the pitch out to the tailback, and then try to outrun everybody else.
Right. So you try to get hands on. Now that guy misses a little bit, but he still keeps him wide, and then that now leaves a one-on-one with that corner who takes a bad angle. I mean, pardon me, that safety takes a bad angle.
Yeah, and sometimes we've sent our center to the safety. Thing on this is Sterling City, that number 10, the backside linebacker, is a really good football player too. So we were cognizant of where he was, and that's the center comes off and takes that backside backer.
Right, just too fast. Oh, they were fast. That was going to be hard to get to them. They were a pretty darn fast team.
Yes, they were.
Speak from experience.
Yeah.
I mean, we aren't the slowest team in six-man, but boy, they were. I don't know why. But... Okay, so here you're getting to a backer. Obviously, the guy's going wide here. He cuts it back up. Now that was a heck of a pitch, right there.
That was a good play.
Yeah.
And that's against that's McLean right there. That's McLean, the state champions in Division I in UIL, and that's one of the few plays we got positive yards on that night. So
yeah, but that's against good defenses. There's not defensively. You say there's not much we can do for that. I mean, that's just a good offensive play, just good execution. That's those two have been playing with each other. They're both juniors there. They've been running that play since 8th grade. So I mean, it's with each other. So it's kind of cool. Once you get around the corner and a tailback follows, sometimes those defenders stop pursuing, and you get a good pitch downfield. All right, I'm gonna get back up here, Coach. So now we're gonna move over to the veer. And let's look here where we got. So you've got the dive right up the middle there. So what's the coaching point here on whether you give or whether you he's watching the end. I'm sure he's told to watch the end. And is there some aspect of where the end is relationally? I mean, if he's across my face or even with me, then that's a give because he's too far up the field at that point. Or I mean,
right.
Is that what you say? I mean, I'm just asking. It's
Yeah, it's pretty much. I mean, we tell them to begin with. When in doubt, we're giving the ball anyway. So a lot of times this is a give. But the only time we're going to pull and keep it is if that defensive end turns his shoulders and puts both hands on the tailback. If we see that both hands are about to go on the tailback, we'll pull it. We'll pull it, keep it around the edge. Right. But if they can only get one hand on it, we pretty much want him to, to give the ball. We don't think most defensive ends can't bring our tailbacks down with one arm. So we're gonna hit it fast and let it go.
So here's the keep this time because they've definitely clogged the hole here.
Yes. That defensive end turns his shoulders. That's a good call. This is our backup fullback. He's actually our starting linebacker, and he's a very good fullback. But he does a great job on veer and reading the veer, and he can ride it in there and pull it and make you pay on the outside.
Yeah, that's definitely everything in. They clogged the middle there and then jumped outside. Yeah, my one, you're gonna love this. So I said this is where I went. My word.
Yeah. Well, our JV game got canceled this week, so we suited them all up, and so yeah. Most of those are JV kiddos.
Okay, I just making sure because I went. Are you kidding me? If I had that many players, I'd be rotating all kinds of fullbacks. I wouldn't worry about which kids got lit up every week. But let's fast forward here. Some of these but I find it interesting on the now here. What's the blocking here on? And I did, this is good. Well, we're so because I saw a couple of times on that veer, there's a cutback, and sometimes he's trying to break it off, let's say this way, right? So he has the option. So is he reading that? And is this guy, what's he told to block at that linebacker? Is he told kick him one way or the other, or just ride him whichever way he rides him?
Yeah, ride him whichever. I mean, go and block him and get him blocked. Tailback's job is to be a running back after he gets the ball, so it's up to him to see the hole. We really want them bouncing it out to our right toward the sideline, because if anybody's coming unblocked there, it's usually that backside linebacker or safety, and we want to get through the line to the right and then bend it out toward the sideline, and let's get to running. So we're not telling our tight end to block it any way per se. We're just, you get that guy blocked, tailback, it's your job to be a running back. So there the linebacker fell in, so it turned into almost a hook. I mean, because he fell in on the dive also.
Yeah, and the safety, again, this is such a good block, and this is where I would tell my linebacker, man up, because even if you're getting blocked and you can't make a play, you've now just let this guy block you into the safety, so now he gets the twofer, right? I mean,
right.
You're not allowed to get twofer blocks in six-man, right? I mean, at least if you're, that's not allowed on our team. I don't care if you get blocked, you just can't let them block two people.
Right.
That's don't make a bad problem worse. So let's go on and we'll let a few of these play through, because you gave us a few clips to look at. See if this one. And you and I are seeing it a little bit jilted, but it's full speed for those online.
Right.
Yeah, again, just good read. And there we go. And just the handoff and let him. Yeah, I think he sets it up by making that jab step to the middle and then breaking it to the outside. So those are all.
Yes.
This one's kind of interesting because he does cut it back on this one here. So it's really more up the middle.
Yeah, he's, like I said, he has some good vision, and he made a lot of plays like that. But I tell him, be football players. If you see a hole, go hit it.
Right.
Just hang on to the ball.
And so the last thing I want to go over is this bootleg. So that there's a pass option. I don't know how it was when I was doing more 11-man, but there are like 8 standard plays that you have to have. But one of them is certainly the ability to throw,
right,
to reverse the field out of something everybody sees and throw back the other way. So you're coming this way. This is, I'm guessing, it's obviously a called play within the huddle. What do you see prior to making this call that's gonna, that's gonna lead to the call? Is it going to be the focus going to be on the safety, or is it with backside linebacker? What are you looking at that makes you think we're gonna need to run the boot?
I'm usually looking at linebackers. And safety too, but mostly the linebackers. If I'm seeing fast flow to our options, we're gonna run a bootleg off of it. We're gonna run option quite a bit before we even run the bootleg. So, and we have some, just a straight sweep to the fullback also that looks kind of like all those options, but it's just a sweep. So we got a lot of plays that really set this bootleg up. So we run all those plays quite a bit by the time we run here, and then if we see them and we can get to the outside over here on the left, we're telling the kid to run first. I mean, it's you run the ball.
Yeah.
Unless it's fourth and really long or something, but I tell him we're running the ball.
Okay, so it is a run and then a pass if the guy just happens to be standing there wide open.
Yes.
And then that play you sent out 1 in the formation, and this time you're sending 2. You're releasing 2 linemen. You list the center and the outside. Is that a called thing as well, I'm guessing, or did somebody just make a mistake on the previous play? Or you always send 2?
No, it's week to week. Usually if we see a 4-man front, or even if a backer's cheated up real close to almost a 4-man front, we're probably going to send only 1. And but if it's a 3-man front, we can send 2.
Okay.
just for blocking purposes. Plus, the last one you saw is Balmorray, and they have a really good linebacker. So we wanted somebody blocking him all the time. So that's a game plan decision.
Gotcha. Yeah, because you got one deep wide open
Mm-hmm.
and you want here, but that's a tough. I'll just say that's a tough throw from running for a right-handed quarterback running to his left. Just to
It is tough, and
that one.
you got to rep it and have a kid who's comfortable doing it. That's why they're going to run first a lot, just because that is a tough throw to make.
Yeah. Here we go again. So now you basically got 5 up on the line,
Right.
and that.
But it's manned up. If you notice down here on this side, that one of those guys on the line is going to run with our tight end. So it's not a true 5-man front. It's going to turn into 3-man front once everybody releases. So.
Yeah. But the problem is you catch this guy, he doesn't recognize it fast enough. So that's where the setup was. He's reading dive, and then and what I see too is that you get here comes the cue after the handoff. He gets a good angle for blocking that way. Now I noticed this time he gets a little more depth on this one than maybe some of the previous. What is the depth that you're asking for on that boot? I mean, looking for a 5, typically.
Yes, we want about 5 yards and deep. I mean, we want deeper because it's going to give you more time to see everything. Plus, it's going to get your shoulders going downhill. If you're throwing on the run, it's a little bit easier than going flat. So it's really we're trying to get depth to help yourself out there.
Basically, it turns into almost a spread play at that point because he's got the run pass option and
right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Get into watch a couple more of these. And here it is, right? I mean, now I like this. He runs, commits to the run, then does the little shuttle. So
yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, that drew the backers up or the defender up and. Again, if your job's to cover. I don't know about you, Coach, but if you came out to one of our practices, you'd hear me saying in a very loud manner, "Do your job."
Right.
Everybody has a place to be and something to do. So just do yours.
Right.
We'll work on our brothers doing theirs. So let's see if we get this last one here. Go forward. So here he comes out again. That's a good block by the defensive end, and that's just a good pitch and catch right there.
Yep.
So, how did you come about this offense? I mean, I'm just out of curiosity.
It's Vance Jones's to be honest.
That's what I figured.
He started that option stuff when he was at Marathon in the 70s, and he ran a lot of veer, but he used his quarterback as a pitch man, so he was a true triple option. But, when I got into 6-man, Vance was one of the first ones I called, and we were discussing his option and things, and he was saying how he was thinking about not putting his quarterback back there as a pitch man and some things like that. So it's kind of developed over the years into what it has become, but it definitely originated with Vance.
Okay, yeah, I mean you see elements of it there, but that's why I thought it is unique to hand it to that fullback, and it does certainly put a lot of pressure on that young man. But when you have a program where you got junior high and you can rep for many years, that's always what I've seen as being the key to running a more complex offense is getting those elements developed when they're literally young.
Yes. We they read them in junior high. We got our fullbacks start learning how to read the option, and we start off with speed option just because it's a little bit easier with the pitch man than it is with the dive back for those fullbacks. But we are running veer down there too. So, and we want them to read it, and we can start off if they don't feel comfortable. We can call it a give or a pitch, and we can or a keep or give or a keep, and just we can dictate it for them, but we want them reading it themselves. So
yeah, well, no, it's definitely it's explosive, at least of some explosive elements, and you've always been blessed to have some pretty good young men running it. So Well, that's it for our film. But we thank you for taking the time, Coach. Truly appreciate you getting up and taking the time to work with us this morning and go through some film. And all the best with your with the shootout, and looking forward to seeing you this fall when we come out there. It's just around the corner for us.
Yeah, yes sir, yes sir. I'm looking forward to it. I'm starting to get the itch myself. The summer, I still need some more summer to me, but I'm starting to get the wheels going for football too.
Yeah, I've got to, you're blessed, Coach, to not have to grow grass. One of the I'm in the process of, I don't know if I can start focusing there until probably toward the end of July, where I'm still replacing sprinkler heads and things of that nature. So.
Oh goodness, yeah, that's not that's not very fun, but it's worth it though.
Yeah, it is. We have definitely had rain, which is helpful. Always better when God waters than when I do. So
right.
That's always a better way of handling it. Well, we thank you very much. For those of you that are with us here on YouTube, we ask you to, like, share. Feel free to comment. But being a coach, we're used to hearing the comments from the coffee club, so I take all those with a grain of salt. the Saturday morning quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But if we would appreciate that, Coach Jones, thank you again. So for all of y'all, y'all stay blessed, and we'll catch you next week.